you've got to be of a certain age and era, I think, to think about the music scene in Birmingham, how it's changed and developed over the years. James Callaghan knows, though. He's worked in it and he's charted the progress, and I suspect some of the down moments as well as the up moments. James, welcome to the programme. Were you enjoying that little trip?
Yeah, it was quite good, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Now, you started in music when you were still at school, so were you bunking off school to play guitar somewhere?
No, I was quite lucky. My school allowed me to do lots of music in school, and spent a lot of lunch times up in the old music room over in Bristol Hall, actually, not far from here. And it was a little room stuck at the top of the school, and we'd all sit around there making music and just enjoying ourselves. So I never actually bunked off.
No.
I was a good lad.
You were a good lad, yeah. But you were into groups and into your music very early days.
Oh yes, yeah.
With parental blessing as well, was it?
Well, once I got a guitar, no, not really.
No.
Turn it down was usually what came from.
I was going to say, was it the neighbours complaining, was it, as much as anything?
We were quite lucky. We were in a detached house, so the neighbours had a bit of a gap between.
It was just your mum and dad who didn't like it so much. Yeah. So what sort of music were you in then? We're talking what, late 80s?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit against the norm. So all my friends were into things like that. They were into their rock music, heavy metal, Megadeth, all these sort of things. I was into funk. So I was into things like Level 42, Shack Attack, who were just on there, that sort of music, experimental music, art of noise, all these sort of really strange sort of against the grain sort of music at the time.
Have you recovered from that era, or is it still?
It was a funny time, really, for music, because it was all just, that's the period where it all started to change, I think. So we were getting more of the Stock Aitken and Waterman style music, and then as you were going to the 90s, sort of dance music, and that was starting to kind of dominate the charts.
Were you at that stage in your late teens then thinking about a career in music?
It all came around really suddenly, because I started off being an artist at school and that, and my brother-in-law was a pianist, and showed me a few things on the piano, and then I started to get interested in different bits of music and thought, oh, do you know what, I can actually do this. I've got a bit of a knack for it. So it kind of led from there. So I then started experimenting with sort of 4 tracks and tape recorders, and I had one of those Alan Sugar Amstrad 4 recorders, a bit of the cardboard sliders and stuff, which came out at the time. And so I ended up going into the sort of engineering side of it, and then building a studio from there. And
you've still got a studio, of course.
I've got a studio in Dudley, Basement Studios, in the centre of Dudley, which I run with a very good friend of mine, Frank Williams, who's my business partner. Run that very successfully. We have a gig night over at the Courthouse in Dudley on a Friday night, put gigs on for local bands to come and play. So yeah, we're really involved in the local scene.
If you think back for a moment to when you got involved in it all, it must have been very, very different to how it is now for people getting into music.
Well, yeah, because at the time everybody was wanting to get into a band, and you were looking at, you know, oh, this band could actually make it, and you were looking at the big record deals that were out at the time. Bands were signed up for usually a kind of a 5-album deal. And as things have progressed and the world's become, if you like, smaller in that sense, the music industry has changed considerably. Those kind of deals are not out there for most people nowadays. So what tends to happen now is you've got a lot of bands that will either sign to an independent label, or many of them actually manage themselves and manage their career.
And of course, the internet is behind all of this, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Bands will use Twitter and Facebook to kind of expand their fan base. We had MySpace came along as well, and they kind of jump on the bandwagon and use these techniques. So they almost have to have skills in marketing and social media just to run their band.
So those that come to your studios, or those that you put on as these gig nights that you do, are they? I mean, what is the way they can go forward? How can they get themselves to a bigger audience than, say, just the West Midlands?
I think these days what you've got to do is use that kind of marketing skills and get out there. One of the things a lot of bands forget, and it's probably a very good tip for them, is that the one thing that stayed consistent through modern technology is email. And email is a really good way of getting out to your listeners. So if you've got a mailing list, that's probably the best way to do that. Facebook tend to kind of limit how you use that now, and you've really got to be quite canny on how you manipulate that system to get your band out there and get all those people interested in your music. If you've got a good mailing list, you've constantly got those people out there who are going to find out what you're doing, where you're going.
So given that you swam against the tide when you were a youngster with your music, are you still the same, or are you...
No. No. I've seen so many different styles of music. I've worked with different... You know, one day I could be working with an orchestra, and then the next day I could be working with a punk band. I've worked with rappers. I've worked with solo artists, acoustic artists, crooners, every type of music. You've got to have an appreciation for all styles of music.
There is a rich vein of music throughout the Midlands. James Callaghan, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.